You ready?
Yep.
Okay. So when I first met Mustafa,
Say your name first.
my name is Demetrius Yates.
Which cell were you in?
I was in cell, I want to say, I don't remember the exact cell. It might have been cell 10 or something along those lines. About 5 or 6 cells down away from Mustafa. I can remember one day I was reciting the Fatiha prayer out loud, and Mustafa must have heard me, and that's when he began to speak with me. He asked me if I needed anything. I didn't know Mustafa from here or there, but just speaking on his character, he's a great person because he just asked me if I needed anything, and everything I asked him that I told him that I needed, he made sure I got, whether it was anything from commissary. If I was hungry, he would make sure I'd get food, hygiene, clothing. He even gave me a pair of his old shoes that he didn't need anymore, that he had set aside, that he had an extra pair of shoes, but he allowed me to have them so I could work out and be comfortable. But just as time went on, Mustafa showed his character and showed how great of a person he was. Because like I said, he didn't know me, he didn't know my case or anything about me, but he just took me in as a brother. Naturally, it was just a nice thing that he did. But while I was in TSL, I could just see that Mustafa was being treated unfairly. It was crazy, some of the things that he was being put through. I noticed while everyone else would get their trays for lunch, Mustafa was getting his trays brought to him in plastic bags. They were being wrapped up, and I asked him one day, I said, why is it that you are being brought food in plastic bags? And he explained to me that multiple times on different occasions, he would go to eat his lunch and he would find certain things such as hair, shavings, or pencil shavings, spit, certain things that look like semen, men's semen, just outrageous things being found in his food. And he went along to tell me that he didn't feel safe eating the food the way that others were being fed food, because they would purposely have access to harm his food or his water or anything that he used to digest in his body, that everyone else would use to eat to become healthy or stay healthy. So once I asked him what was going on, he really didn't go into too much depth, but he just said, brother, sit back and watch and you'll see for yourself. And I did. I sat back and I could clearly see how unfairly he was being treated. The officers would speak to him like he was a dog, curse at him. Certain times he'd be in his cell quiet, not saying anything, and they'd pop his cell and begin screaming at him, cursing at him, telling him he was crazy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. They were tired of dealing with him. He's always complaining about something. He needed to shut up and just go along with it. Nothing was going to change. Mustafa just needed to shut up, pretty much. Absolutely insane. No one should be treated that way. No one should be spoken to that way. I just felt like they were going out of their way to pinpoint and harass Mustafa daily, every day. Like I was telling you guys, that one day when he was headed towards court, I believe it was, they came into his cell, shackled him up from his feet to his hands. Minimal access to walk. It's very hard to walk while you're handcuffed in that predicament, but they brought him out of his cell, and instead of walking Mustafa on the side where he is housed and straight out of the door, they brought Mustafa around to the other side of the tier where he has inherited a lot of enemies, I would say, or people that dislike Mustafa for God knows what reason. But they brought him down that tier that day, and your slot in that pod is only supposed to be dropped down when you are being allowed or allotted access to the phone. Well, this day, a couple of slots were dropped down, and no person was on that phone that day, so their slots should have never been open. So, like I said, they took Mustafa out of his cell and brought him to the other side of the tier, and began to walk him down the tier alongside of the slots that were already open with people that Mustafa had problems with, or the officers had. I would like to believe that they purposely had told these people to do this to Mustafa. But as Mustafa started to walk down the tier, you could hear everyone begin to curse and scream at Mustafa. They brought him close to a cell door of one of the gentlemen that he had problems with, and I looked out of my door to see what was going on, and I realized that one of the inmates had filled a cup with urine and waited till Mustafa had become close to him and splashed it on Mustafa. He went to go pull away, like to dodge it because he's seen it, and the officer kind of just drug him right past the door so that it could hit him. After that, immediately he went to the next door with the slot that was popped, and an inmate had stuck his head through the slot and spit on Mustafa. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Mustafa was gonna say, how can you let him do that to me? Why are you gonna bring him past his cell for him to do that on me? He said, "Well, just keep walking. You shouldn't have stopped." And he's like, "I'm not stopping. You shouldn't have brought me past him." And again, they just cursed at him and said, "Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. He didn't do that to you." And he's like, "I just watched it." And I began to scream like, "Hey, that's crazy. You can't let him just spit on him like that. He just threw pee on him. He threw urine on him." And it's like, "Yates, go back, lay down. You don't know what you're talking about." Just so.
But the officers purposely left those slot doors open, those
Correct.
tray slots.
Yes.
They could have closed it before bringing Mustafa through that area.
Yes.
Did the officers do anything when the guy threw urine at him?
No.
They didn't do anything to that guy?
No.
Did they do anything to the guy that spit on him?
No. To my knowledge, they said that they were going to press charges against the.
But at the time when this happened, they didn't do anything.
No.
They just sit there and watched it happen. They
that-
let it happen.
I can remember that after they took Mustafa out of the pod, they come back to the guy that did it, and they began to laugh and joke with him. Like,
The officers were laughing and joking with the guy that just threw urine at him,
Yes.
just spit at him.
yes, they laughed and joked and said, "You almost hit me." Like that's what he said. He's like, "Oh, you almost hit me.
Yeah,
Next time, get your aim better." You know what I mean? Like it was a joke. Like it almost felt like it was set up purposely for them to allow someone to throw urine on Mustafa.
And you said officers said that they were going to ejaculate in his food, that they were going to put spit in his food, and then they take his commissary. So
Yes.
now he's forced to eat whatever they're bringing him.
Correct.
And he said that, you said earlier, that everybody gets their food in a tray, Mustafa gets it in a plastic bag.
Correct.
Do you know why that is?
Mustafa had made it apparent that he felt that every time he gets his meals that there was something wrong with him, whether it be spit, dirt, hair, pencil shavings, anything along those lines were constantly being received in Mustafa's food. He was like, "I'm tired of this. Something needs to be done." So they went along to I guess to purposely tie his food up in bags to make him feel that it was more safe. But to me, it seemed like it was just making this problem worse because not only did Mustafa have to wait sometimes 30, 20 minutes longer for him to receive his food, by the time he got his food, I'm sure it was cold by then. And while we're eating our trays, Mustafa's still waiting for his food to be received. And then when it is received, it's in a bag that looks like it's been sitting there for God knows how long, and it's acquired water inside. It's just unfair, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Nobody should have to go through stuff like that, especially Mustafa. Mustafa is one of the most humblest, quiet people you've ever met. If you ask him for anything, he'd give it to you. And some of the guys that he had problems with, some days they didn't have something, and Mustafa would go out of his way to ask an officer to hand it to him. And they'd say, "Oh, where did this come from?" And they'd say, "Your buddy down there in 10." And Mustafa would just look in his window and look at him and turn around and go on about his business, like letting him know, like, no matter what you do to me, no matter what you say to me, your words can't break me. It's a lesson to be learned with Mustafa. Mustafa's a good guy. He teaches people how to be humble just with his actions. You know, he doesn't go out of his way to be rude to anyone. He's just an all-around good person. I learned a lot from Mustafa when I was in there. I really did.
How long were you in there?
I was in there for about 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were in D-Pod the whole time?
I was in D-Pod, yes, the whole time, all the way up until about a month of my incarceration.
So D-Pod is TSL, right? That's where they put solitary confinement.
Yes.
Isolation.
You're in your cell every day, all the way up until maybe an hour, up to about an hour. You get 1 hour of free time, recreation time a day.
Well, you're supposed to get 1 hour per day, right?
Yes, and we rarely, especially Mustafa, would rarely receive that 1 hour recreation.
So he's on 24-hour lockdown.
Pretty much, yeah.
You were there around November. Were you there when they flooded his cell? You were there? Can you say anything about?
So,
because I remember I submitted a FOIA request for that video, for the video from inside the jail. They denied it. They denied that anything happened.
حتى برمضان when he was fasting in
They
Ramadan.
denied that
So-
anything happened. But his cell was flooded by trustees, and officers looked on, just like when they splashed the urine on him, just like when they spit on him. Officers stood idly by and then later would joke around with those people.
yeah. So, some of the inmates brought it upon themselves to tag along and pop their sprinklers, and when you pop your sprinkler, it makes your cell spray out water from the sprinkler, and it would flood the whole pod. And I can remember looking out of my cell one day and noticing that instead of scooping the water up to clean it, they were pushing the water under Mustafa's door to like flood his cell, and he put towels under the crack of his door to try to keep the water from coming in. And I can remember they would just go under his door and pull the towels away so the water would enter his cell and then begin to flood his cell. And he'd bang on the door and say, hey, there's water getting in my cell. And they said, we know, we're gonna get to it. And we'd all have to sit in there and just kind of just hold our feet up, because you have water that's coming now from out of your toilet, from out of the sprinkler, and it's just unsanitary. But a lot of things like that happen, and it happens daily in here. It's inhumane and it's crazy.
He said they damaged all his documents.
Yeah.
He damaged his religious material with that dirty water, and it was
With
done
the
on
rug,
purpose.
his rug.
Yes.
And his prayer rug, his Quran, all that was damaged with this dirty water, and officers did nothing about it.
No.
Officers just watched it happen, as if they're allowing it, as if it was like allowed to happen. Because it's Mustafa, it's okay to abuse him. And then the officers would later laugh with those same people and joke around with them.
And they use that incident to put him on PC.
They used that incident to put him on PC, put him on what is it? Like DDU, TSL.
Yeah. Okay,
That's what they're using to
Protective custody.
Oh, I never knew that. That's what they use for that?
Yeah.
Wow. I never knew that. And that's crazy, because he has no say so in that. He didn't have any involvement in the pod being flooded. He didn't ask for that, you know what I mean? He's just trying to do his time as best as possible, and then boom, your cell begins to flood. What do? You know? There's only so high that you can hold your box of materials on. There's only your bunk and the floor. So Mustafa, I'm sure, has a lot of paperwork and a lot of books, or a lot of reading material, so there's only so much space to lift that stuff up and put it up, and after a while you have no more room to put anything anywhere. It's going to get wet. It's inevitable. So
how was your treatment inside this jail?
my time in the show was very rough. It opened my eyes to how crooked and corrupt this jail was from the incident that led me on TSL. I had come back from the hospital. I had surgery done on my shoulder, and I was under a lot of narcotics at the time. So I can remember when I got brought back to the jail, I had no idea really too much of what was going on. But once I came to, I remember I was in my cell, and I was being pushed up against the wall with my hands shackled and my feet shackled. And protocol for them was to place me against the wall and to release me from my restraints. But as they were doing so, once they released my arms from the restraints, I remember one of the sergeants or lieutenants, I forget which one, grabbed me by my back and slammed me to the ground, face first, with my handcuffs on. So I have no really way to protect my face from hitting the ground. So I smashed the ground, and it chipped my tooth.
Oh my God.
And once it chipped my tooth, I began to scream like, "Hey, you can't do that to me! That you need to call somebody for backup. Where's your higher up? You can't do this to me!" And then he told me to shut up and smash my face in the ground again. And then once he did that, I tried to get up off the ground, because the ground's dirty, filled with all types of germs. So I just remember trying to get up off the ground, and then he used that as an excuse to say that I tried to fight back towards him, and they put me on TSL.
So he slammed you to the ground while you're in handcuffs,
Correct.
chipping your tooth.
Yes.
And you weren't resisting, you weren't doing anything.
No.
But do you know which officer that is? Do you know their name?
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm not originally from Manassas. This was my first time being incarcerated here. He's a bigger gentleman, bald head.
Is he African American?
He is African American.
Is
Daniel.
it Roosevelt Daniels?
Daniel.
We know a couple officers in here that have these like sick tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
Daniels is one of them. I mean, what you're describing resembles.
Again, it could be Dan.
It could be him. It could be somebody else. There's a lot of them here.
Right.
So.
Right. But yeah,
Was anything done to that officer? Anything done about your tooth?
No.
Anything? And you had surgery, you said at the time, right?
خليه يحكي المصطفى
You were under a lot of pain. And did they give you medical for your chipped tooth for slamming you to the ground?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You requested medical,
Of course.
and they didn't give you medical.
No.
Interesting.
خليه يحكي عن مستي. Tell the community about Mustafa's character.
Mustafa, you can learn a lot from Mustafa. Mustafa is one to lead by example. Mustafa doesn't really speak much about his character. Mustafa, again, leads by example. So he's one who he fights back with not words but with actions. So if imagine someone yelling at Mustafa or cursing at Mustafa, Mustafa will wait till dinner. Dinner time and make sure that you get an extra piece of cake or an extra piece of food. That's the way Mustafa gets back at you. He doesn't get back with harm or trying to hurt you. He gets back with peace. He gets back with kindness. He shows you that no matter what you do to try to hurt him, nothing hurts him other than seeing you be an evil person. You know what I mean? Mustafa's the type of person where he tries to teach you how to be better. He doesn't try to hurt you or harm you by cursing back at you or saying evil things to you. He's the type where he's going to go out of his way to try to teach you that it's better to be kind to the next person than to be evil to them. He's an all-around good guy. He doesn't have to know you for a long time. He doesn't have to be your best friend. Like I said, there's been multiple times on occasions where I've seen Mustafa have an altercation or someone be screaming at Mustafa, calling him all types of names and speaking upon his case and about how he's such an evil person and how he tries to kill people, and Mustafa just says things along the line of I'm praying for you, brother, and may Allah be with you and peace upon you, and then again goes out of his way to gift that person with clothing or shoes or food, wherever it may be. And then you see these guys step back like, what's wrong with this man? Like, why is I just cursed him out and called him every name in the book, and he turns around and gives me a shirt or a pair of shoes. And that's when you see Mustafa's character come out from the dark, because it changes you, because you step back and you think, man, I just called this guy every name in the book, and he turned around and gave me something, you know. And then that person steps back, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? Maybe he is an alright person. Maybe there's more to this person than what we're reading about or what everyone seems to think about Mustafa. Mustafa is one of a kind, to be honest. He really is.
God is there, Mama. God is there. God will be with him. God will be with him. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. God sent you. I don't know how you came here. God sent you to tell everybody I am here every day fighting for my son.
The sheriff says this is a world-class hotel. That this is the best hotel for anybody incarcerated. That this is the best jail in America. That's what he tells the community. That's what Amy Ashworth, the Commonwealth attorney who sits on the jail board, tells the community. That this is the best jail.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
This is the best jail in
Thank
all
God.
of America.
All this
that
miracle.
every jail should follow
All
in the
this
footsteps.
miracle.